Time. Yeah.
Chemicals are key ingredients in most industrial and consumer goods.
Hey there, safety enthusiasts. Welcome back. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the most dangerous jobs from the 1970s that we're thankful are no longer needed. Back then, before the advancement of technology and improved safety regulations, some occupations put workers at extreme risk on a daily basis. So, let's rewind to the 70s and explore these perilous professions that have thankfully faded into history. First up, let's talk about asbestos insulation installers. During the 1970s, asbestos was widely used for insulation due to its fire-resistant properties. Unfortunately, workers who installed asbestos insulation were often exposed to its harmful fibers, which could lead to severe respiratory diseases, including asbestosis and mesothelioma. It wasn't until later that the dangers of asbestos were fully realized, leading to stringent regulations and the development of safer materials for insulation. Next, we have the lead paint manufacturers. Lead-based paint was common in the 70s, used in homes, toys, and furniture. Workers in lead paint factories were exposed to high levels of lead, which could cause severe health issues such as lead poisoning, neurological damage, and kidney disease. Thankfully, the use of lead paint has been banned in many countries, and safer alternatives have been developed, protecting both workers and consumers. The coal mining industry was notoriously hazardous during the 70s. Miners faced numerous risks, including cave-ins, explosions, and exposure to harmful dust. The inhalation of coal dust could lead to black lung disease, a debilitating condition that affected many miners. Advances in mining technology and improved safety regulations have reduced these risks. But the job remains challenging and dangerous, reminding us of the importance of continuous improvements in worker safety. Deep-sea fishing in the 1970s was one of the most perilous jobs due to unpredictable weather conditions, heavy machinery, and the sheer physical demands of the work. Fishermen faced the constant threat of being swept overboard, injuries from handling heavy equipment, and even shipwrecks. Modern advancements in weather forecasting, navigation technology, and safety equipment have made deep-sea fishing safer, though it remains a tough and demanding profession. Logging was a particularly dangerous job in the 70s, with workers often using chainsaws and heavy machinery in remote and hazardous environments. The risk of falling trees, machinery accidents, and the physical strain of the work made it a highly dangerous occupation. Today, improvements in logging techniques, machinery, and safety protocols have significantly reduced the risks, but logging still demands caution and skill. High steel workers, or iron workers, who constructed skyscrapers and bridges in the 1970s, worked at dizzying heights with little safety gear compared to today's standards. Falls were a common and often fatal hazard, along with the risk of being struck by falling objects. The introduction of harnesses, better scaffolding, and stricter safety regulations have made this job safer, though it remains a high-risk occupation. Working on offshore oil rigs in the 70s were incredibly hazardous. Workers faced the constant threat of blowouts, fires, and explosions, along with the physical and mental challenges of working in isolated and often harsh conditions. Advances in drilling technology, safety protocols, and emergency response procedures have improved safety on oil rigs, but the job still carries significant risks. Fire lookouts, who were stationed in remote towers to spot and report wildfires, had a lonely and risky job. The isolation, exposure to harsh weather conditions, and the responsibility of detecting fires before they spread were significant challenges. Modern fire detection technologies such as satellite monitoring and automated systems have largely replaced this job, improving early detection and response to wildfires. In the 1970s, telephone linemen faced dangerous working conditions, climbing poles to install and repair lines, often in adverse weather. The risk of falls, electrical shocks, and injury from handling heavy equipment made this a hazardous job. Advances in technology such as automated systems and improved safety gear have reduced the need for manual labor in such risky environments. Shipbreaking in the 70s involved dismantling old ships for scrap metal, a job fraught with dangers. Workers used cutting torches to break apart massive steel structures, often with little safety equipment, exposing them to toxic chemicals, explosions, and heavy metal injuries. Stricter regulations and safer dismantling techniques have made the process less hazardous, though it remains a physically demanding job. Underground gas workers who installed and maintained gas lines face the constant threat of explosions and exposure to harmful gases. Digging trenches and working in confined spaces added to the risks. Modern detection equipment, better training, and improved safety standards have reduced the dangers associated with this job, protecting workers from potential hazards. Garbage collection in the 70s was a physically demanding and dangerous job. Workers manually lifted heavy bins, often encountering hazardous waste and sharp objects. The lack of modern safety equipment and proper sanitation increased the risk of injuries and infections. Today, automated collection systems and improved safety protocols have made garbage collection safer, though it still requires physical endurance and caution. Asbestos removers were tasked with the dangerous job of eliminating asbestos from buildings. The lack of adequate protective gear and ventilation exposed workers to deadly asbestos fibers, leading to serious health issues. Advances in protective equipment, better ventilation systems, and stringent regulations have significantly improved safety in this field, protecting workers from exposure. Factory workers in the 70s often operated heavy machinery with minimal safety precautions. The risk of accidents, injuries, and exposure to toxic chemicals was high. Today, advancements in automation, improved safety standards, and better worker training have made factory environments safer, reducing the risk of workplace accidents and injuries. Construction laborers in the 70s faced numerous dangers, including falls from heights, equipment accidents, and exposure to hazardous materials. The lack of proper safety gear and training made construction sites perilous places to work. Modern safety protocols, better equipment, and comprehensive training programs have greatly improved safety in the construction industry. Chemical plant workers were exposed to hazardous substances and the risk of explosions and chemical spills. The lack of advanced safety measures and protective equipment heightened the dangers. Today, stringent safety regulations, better protective gear, and improved handling procedures have reduced the risks associated with working in chemical plants. Demolition workers in the 70s used explosives and heavy machinery to bring down buildings, a job that carried significant risks of injury or death. The unpredictability of demolitions, combined with inadequate safety measures, made it a hazardous occupation. Advances in demolition technology, improved safety protocols, and better planning have made the process safer, though it remains a risky job. Deep sea divers who worked on underwater construction, repairs, and salvage operations face the constant threat of decompression sickness, equipment failure, and encounters with marine life. The lack of advanced diving technology and safety protocols increased the risks. Modern diving equipment, better training, and improved safety measures have made deep-sea diving safer, though it still demands skill and caution. Explosives handlers, who worked in mining, construction, and demolition, faced the constant threat of accidental detonations and injuries. The lack of advanced safety equipment and protocols made handling explosives extremely dangerous. Today, strict regulations, better training, and modern safety equipment have reduced the risks, making the handling of explosives safer. Window washers in the 70s who worked on high-rise buildings faced the constant danger of falls, often with minimal safety equipment. The lack of modern harnesses and safety lines increased the risk of accidents. Advances in safety gear, better equipment, and improved training have made window washing safer, though it remains a challenging and risky job. Nuclear power plant workers in the 70s were exposed to radiation and the risk of nuclear accidents. The lack of advanced safety measures and protocols heightened the dangers. Today, stringent safety regulations, better protective gear, and improved handling procedures have significantly reduced the risks associated with working in nuclear power plants. Railroad workers who maintain tracks and operated trains face the constant threat of accidents, injuries, and exposure to hazardous materials. The lack of modern safety equipment and protocols made working on the railroads dangerous. Today, advancements in rail technology, better safety standards, and comprehensive training programs have made the rail industry safer. Workers who transported hazardous chemicals face the risk of spills, explosions, and exposure to toxic substances. The lack of advanced safety measures and protective equipment increase the dangers. Today, stringent safety regulations, better protective gear, and improved handling procedures have reduced the risks associated with transporting hazardous chemicals. Textile mill workers in the 70s faced numerous dangers, including exposure to harmful fibers, machinery accidents, and poor working conditions. The lack of advanced safety measures and protective equipment heightened the risks. Today, advancements in automation, improved safety standards, and better working training have made textile mills safer, reducing the risk of workplace accidents and health issues.